2008 Saturn View, front wheel drive. Should be the same as the all wheel drive as far as the process of doing the brakes. These are notorious if you have these rims for getting stuck on the hubs when you undo the lug nuts. Best thing I found to do is go on the back side with the rubber mallet and try to hit the rim on the back side as you spin it, and then you'll see it start to move and eventually it'll come off. That's the easiest way I found to get these things off and get stuck. So now what I'm going to do is try to eliminate that next time by sanding down the surfaces. Just build up in here. Doesn't look too bad. Take a stainless steel brush to it. And then on the hub itself, not the rim, but the hub, I'm going to take some steel, a stainless steel brush. Also, I'm going to take some heavy grid, like 60 or 90, somewhere around there, and sand the surface, and then put some coating on it just to try to prevent them from getting stuck like this. Okay, get this rim out of here. You see I didn't damage it at all from hitting it with the rubber mallet. I would not use a sledgehammer. Okay, about to take the caliper off. Some people like to take these out and just slide the center piece of the caliper and piston out, leave the shell. I don't like doing that. I don't like disturbing this area. Sometimes these will spin. Unless you're replacing them. I'm also going to be replacing the metal clips. So the way I do this is I use my rubber mallet and my ratchet. Now, pre-warned, sometimes you get an amateur mechanic that likes to over tighten, use red Loctite, that kind of crap. This vehicle is one of them that has had that guy work on. I just know from the other side it was over torqued and it had red Loctite to boot, so I got real lucky with those threads. It almost ripped them out. So be aware of that mechanic guy doing that. So I'm just going to take the ratchet right here and take the sledgehammer. The 2 bolts, not this one, but you'll be able to see the 15 millimeter here, and there's one on the opposite side towards the rear. Can't really see it, but it's right here. Your opposite side will be below these ones here. Will be below them by a couple inches. So we move the camera out of the way because I use a sledgehammer or rubber mallet. Goes over tighten once again, and I can feel the red Loctite. Let's hope to God I can get them rethreaded back in. This side, the bottom, it's a little different. You have to use a 3/8 unless you take the shock off. Once you break this bottom one free, you're gonna want to not continue, just break it free to where it's loose enough where you can get your socket off and then get a wrench on there, because what'll happen is the ratchet will get stuck with the shock sitting there. So just gotta make sure I can take off go as far as I can. I'll still get my ratchet off. This side might be a little different. The passenger side, the shock was in the way. I might be able to undo this side. Okay, so passenger rear. Oh, same problem. Yep, same problem. See, once you once you tighten so far, the ratchet gets stuck. So just back it off so you can get the socket off there. You can use a 15 mil wrench. It's not worth taking the shock off for this one bolt. You don't need to. Should have grabbed my ratchet. Wrenches should be a lot quicker. So I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way. I'll just use my right hand. This side's a lot easier. Previous video, you could see I was doing the wheel sensor and decided to do the brakes, but it's a lot harder on the other side because you have to turn the other direction, which is into the caliper. So on the other side, I used a copper tube over this wrench to break this one free. That's what I did, because there's no room to really get the mallet in there and break it free if it's tight, over tight, and it has Loctite on it. So let's see, this one should have some red Loctite. Yep, just like the other ones do. Okay, let's pull the caliper up. Shouldn't be too bad. Sometimes you'll get a bad rotor that's been on there and it's been pad slapped too much. It'll have a lip, so you have to get in there and pry. Okay, this side had about 1/8 of a pad left. Not too bad, but definitely needs to be replaced. See there? Tighten this up here. So, about 1/8 of a pad, as you can see. Even wear. Always check that. 9 times out of 10, if you got one pad that has a lot of pad and the other one has next to nothing, that's typically a bad caliper piston problem. So you might want to replace the caliper. So in my case, it's good. Make sure you open your brake fluid reservoir, or you can use your bleeder valve, which is right here on this one. I will be bleeding the brakes as well, but for now I'm just going to push the piston in. clips out. Careful, they're sharp. It's easier if we push that like that. There you go. Just push this over to the towards the piston. And then I put it in that way first. Line these up. Like so. The other one, push this back. Okay, now time for the pads. See the blue coating on the pads. I spray stop squeal on my pads all the time. I like to open the box up, put the pads down, face the pads down so you don't get it on them, and then just coat your pads. I do it before I even pull the wheels off, because then it gives it enough time to set up and all that. But never in my life had squeaky pads by doing that. These are ceramic pads, but nine times out of 10 it's not the pads, it's the squeaking of the metals touching. So by having it coated, and I coat the sides too, because as you can see these are against them, so it helps. Simple like that. Now time to put the rotor back on. So same process. Let's flip it over. Should slide on no problem, because you have the caliper wide open for the new pads. So just remember to pump your brakes before you even attempt to start the car. The bolt, I kind of press in a little bit and move the caliper. You usually have to slide it up just a hair off the caliper, and you'll feel the bolt hit the right spot to tighten. So right there. I don't know if you heard it, but that was me pushing on the bolt. And on this back side, same thing. What happens is you just have to barely lift up on the caliper for it to find its home, get it started. Get them both started. Grab a wrench.
My little girl, my little girl, my little girl, where are you? My fucking world, my fucking world, my fucking world destroyed you. Day after day, I gotta know I just go on without you. Drifting inside, 6 miles high.
And then what I do is put mine straight up and down, and then I'll take my mallet and hit it to about, I would say almost a quarter turn, about an eighth, after I tightened it with my hand. About an eighth of a turn. So, I've never in my life had a problem doing it this way. Never had one come loose. Never had it over tightened. I'm gonna have to move the camera. So I need to hit this. It's about an eighth of a turn. And that will never come loose. And it's not over tightened. That's it. That's all there is to the brake job. If you're doing the rotors, you'll have to get the torque, which is a T30. Undo this. Make sure it goes in firmly. If not, clean this out. I usually take a rubber mallet and tap it rather than trying to brute force it. Should come out pretty easy, and then the rotor should slide off from there. Sometimes you gotta take a rubber mallet, and where this opening is, where this caliper was when you had this off, take a rubber mallet, tap on the rotor this way, and trying to rotate it as you're tapping, and it'll break free. This is why it gets stuck. You can see this build up right here. So I suggest you take a stainless brush every single time and clean that surface off. So it's a very tight fit with this hub to the rim. So sometimes it'll, well, most times it'll be stuck on there and you have to hit the back of the rim. So, and you can coat this too with a very small amount of high temp grease if you'd like. So, clean that up good so the rim will go back on. And when you pull this off, check your shoes for your parking brake. I already pulled the other side off. I know the previous owners never used it because they looked almost new, which is common. People usually don't use it that often. I don't know why. They like to hear that clunk when they put their tranny in gear with the vehicle weight on it when it's on an incline. But that's it. Brake job, 2008 Saturn View. I'll show you the hub, which is, like I said, it's similar to the all-wheel drive. You'll be able to see here in a second. You can see there's splines in there. That's for the CB axle for the all-wheel drive. I don't know if you can see that, but see that. And if you have a front-wheel drive, you'll have a big hole, holy man. So Same parts, same money. Appreciate y'all stopping by.